Hello everyone, so this is a video that has been long in the making for me, and by long I mean I've been thinking about this for a long time now. Some of you may know who she is, some don't, and I don't blame you if you don't. I did a brief search for videos of her on YouTube, but I didn't find any videos other than TikTok compilations and slideshow-esque ones presenting information that can readily be found on the internet. Elina Karimova is someone who has a lot going for her. She's charming and beautiful, and has garnered a huge following across multiple social media platforms, on top of being a model based in Korea. With that said, I want to talk about her and thoroughly explain the intrigue she has and what I have with her. I also want to add that this video is simply my opinion and what I think based on what I see and some light research. So please take everything I say with a grain of salt. And with that being said, I'll begin with how I personally found out about her. I first found out about her when I was studying abroad in Korea. This was in spring 2018. I was watching YouTube in my dorm and I saw her in an Apyu ad, and Apyu is a Korean makeup company. And the thing is, you don't see a lot of foreign models in ads or commercial in Korea that speak Korean that extensively or fluently, at least when I was there. But it wasn't only that intrigued me. It was that I didn't see her on billboards on the streets or really much elsewhere. But she seemed like she was important and famous enough to be on an ad for a company such as Apyu. Interesting. So naturally, it took me a little while to find out who she was, but eventually I did. I want to move on to Elina Karimova's background. And it's interesting because not a lot is known about her personally. I mean, there's not even a Wikipedia page about her. And I can't really trust articles that are written about her 100% because of some of the wildly different information I found on there. So there is this Q&A video on her YouTube channel, and she opens up a little bit about her background on there. So I'll be pulling some facts from that video. She was born in Uzbekistan and is currently 22 years old. She was born on April 22nd, 1988, which makes her a Taurus, and I'm a Scorpio, so we can be besties. So if she wants to be my bestie, she can just hit me up. She is half Russian, half Uzbek, and when she was about 4 years old, her family moved to Korea, where she naturalized and grew up. She is fluent in both Russian and Korean, and she also knows English and Japanese. She is a model and influencer, and she also has the vibe of a Ulujang too. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. And amassed a huge following on her TikTok, YouTube, and 2 Instagram accounts. And I know that because I follow her on all of them. She wanted to be a K-pop star, but due to having to focus on her studies, she couldn't do that. So she has her YouTube channel as a way to pursue that as a hobby. Elina is a very interesting influencer for many reasons that are multifaceted and somewhat complex, and I'll do my best to describe those aspects. Let's first focus on the thing that is most apparent, her appearance. I mention this because Korean society heavily focuses on appearances. It is dubbed the cosmetic surgery capital of the world and is known for its abundance of cosmetic and skincare companies and products that oftentimes promote this ideal appearance. This is done by these companies seeking out models that represent that ideal appearance. And Elina, in many ways, captures the essence of the ideal look in Korean beauty standards. She's fair, thin, takes on a quite youthful appearance, has a thin nose, large eyes, and most importantly, she has a small face and a V-shaped jawline. She mentioned in her Q&A video that she has never gone under the knife. Because a lot of the time for K-pop idols or celebrities to attain that look, they have gone under the knife to shave their jawline or get double eyelids or some kind of cosmetic procedure to get closer to the standard. So, assuming that what she's saying is true, she naturally has this V-shaped jawline that is so desirable. I want to mention this too, even if it may sound unrelated, because there is this tendency to think that Korean beauty standards are solely based on Eurocentric features, and even though I can see why many people think that, that isn't necessarily true. historically goes back to Korea valuing paleness because the rich were pale, the poor tan, in simplistic terms. And Korea is very much like that, but now with beauty standards, like the small face, the V-shaped jawline, double eyelids, and a slim, narrow nose. And going off that, Russian women also seem to have a beauty influence in countries like Korea, specifically European looking, and by that I mean white women. There are many European looking Russian women who are and have been models in Korea, Japan, and other Asian countries. Why Russian women? Well, geographically, it's pretty close to Korea. I also find it an odd coincidence that a lot of foreign models, influencers, or celebrities in Korea are Russian, so there is clearly a sort of attraction or bias towards them. Due to these nuances and more, they are perfect for modeling in Korea. And plus, even with the rest of the world, when people think of Russian women, it's kind of an automatic thing to think of them as being very beautiful. Elina is half Russian, and given one of her parents is probably a European looking Russian, she too naturally has that as a sort of desirability. She is also half Uzbek, so she is half Asian as well. I mention this because mixed models, particularly half Asian, half white models, nowadays are also being sought in Asian countries. Taylor R is a YouTuber and model based in Hong Kong and has made a video a couple years ago mentioning this notion. So Elina has that desirability going for her as well. And because this video from Taylor R is about models in Japan, I don't know how much this applies to Korea, but I wanted to mention this anyway. So Elina has the looks, that much is pretty obvious, but that alone doesn't make her the most intriguing beauty influencer or model. There are plenty of beautiful young foreign models and influencers in Korea, some speaking Korean fluently. So what is so special about her then? Well, some of it is that she has been through some unique circumstances and coincidences that enable her to have what she has today. One is that, as I mentioned earlier, she is a naturalized Korean. Because she essentially grew up there, she is bound to Korean society in many ways. She's been raised and woven into Korean society and customs, maybe not at home, but with school, work, friends, and so forth. And when it comes to working with other Koreans, Elina would have little to no issues with communication. It makes it easier for the people who work alongside her, like her managers, makeup artists, stylists, and other people with whom she has to communicate. There would be less confusion on nuances, less hassle, and just overall more of a win-win. At least compared to many foreign models who, more often than not, will not have the Korean language and or culture so embedded in them, making nuances a little harder to communicate. At the same time, Elina isn't ethnically Korean and has both Russian and Uzbek blood in her as well, and so has that foreign appeal without being completely foreign. She is multicultural in many senses, and that works for her in the best of ways. That may not seem so important on a surface level, but I think it really is when it comes to getting opportunities and discussing and maintaining them for the long term. Modeling is something that can only be sustained for a certain period of time, as the industry typically looks down on aging. Once models, particularly women, get to a certain age or show signs of aging, they are not as valued, and subsequently are replaced with much younger, much more quote-unquote beautiful women. You see this in the media all the time, and you see this in K-pop as well. And as Korea is a society that heavily focuses on appearance, this would be especially the case, if not rampant. But who knows, maybe the industry there will be different within a decade or so. Only time will tell. The rapid economic growth in Korea is also something to consider. That might have played into why her parents considered moving there in the first place. But besides that, Korea over the past couple of decades has rapidly increased with their economy and global influence, and consequently, many now have better quality of life compared to just 50 years ago. This growth is due to many things, including the ever-growing entertainment, K-pop and K-drama industry, and also, trickling from that, the beauty and cosmetic industry. Given Korea seeks models that look like Elina, and that oftentimes these models lack the language and or cultural component, Elina is one of the most rare, unique individuals that has both the ideal looks Korea looks for in foreign models and the cultural understanding and relatability. How many other people are young, naturally have the ideal beauty standard, and are culturally and linguistically bound while simultaneously having a different cultural background to reach to an audience on an expanding global scale? Elina and her career is the epitome of being the right person for the right job at the right time. Another aspect I want to discuss is her vast and unique markability. When it comes to success on the business or marketing side of things, it is on a basic level due to having a balance of supply and demand, or being able to market to a wide and or specific audience. Elina is the perfect catalyst for this. As an influencer, she is not only able to grab followers who are Korean, but also are from other countries. Because Elina can speak Russian and Korean fluently, she can garner followers who are or speak one or both those things. And because she speaks English and Japanese, she garners followers who consequently speak those languages. And as English is a global language, Elina is able to have a much more global influence and garner followers that way, which can bring attention to different brands and then lead to more sales and more profit and further outreach. And with K-pop and Korea itself becoming more and more of a global power and prevalence in the US, I'm not sure how long it has been prevalent in other countries, but I know in the US it became more prevalent over the last 3 to 5 years. There is more of an audience to reach. Not only that, but her content itself is very unique, if I say so myself. Take a shot every time I say unique in this video. I want to take a brief dive into her TikTok because I feel that it is prevalent there. Right off the bat, it is clear that she has a natural beauty and charm to her. When looking into her string of content, I find that she makes a lot of TikToks that blend both Asian trends and Western trends, as far as I know. Each video leans onto one influence more than the other, but she tends to blur the two together, which makes it watchable and relatable to more people. One specific thing I notice is that she has been blurring the lines with her stylistic presentation. She is most of the time pretty girly and feminine, but some of her TikToks are of her presenting herself in a more masculine or gender fluid way. I know that in Chinese TikTok or other Asian TikTok trends, correct me if I'm wrong, women dressing like handsome men or vice versa is somewhat of a trend. And in the West, or at least in America, gender fluidity, specifically when it comes to fashion and clothing, is becoming more prevalent and more, I guess, trendy and somewhat normalized. And alt/anime TikTok is a thing, so there's that too that she could fall into. I also want to mention that despite her personality being under a mysterious shroud, it peeks through at times. From her experimentation with hair colors and styles to some of her quirkiness poking through, and this one TikTok that is speculated to her coming out as bi. Her as a person, as far as I know, is not only beautiful on the outside but also on the inside. And this persona could also be directed by her manager or someone above. But I also like to think that this is because it's her being herself. Plus, her mysterious veil she has appeals to people like myself, and it keeps me following her and seeing what she does next. So final thoughts. Elina Karimova is someone I find interesting and someone I somewhat admire. She's smart, charming, talented, and very focused on her career. On top of that, she was born under very unique and special circumstances that allow her to amass what she has today. And that to me makes Elina Karimova a very intriguing individual. And maybe this is just me thinking way too deep too, but that's okay. Because I too was born with unique and special circumstances to make me who I am today. And overthink. And that concludes my video on Elina Karimova. I wanted to originally get this up within a week or so, but I wanted to make sure I had everything that I wanted to say in here and have it as detailed and as concise as I can make it. I want to make my videos to my liking and make sure they are well done because, you know, quality over quantity. So with that said, thank you so much for watching this video, and until the next time I make a video. Bye bye.